Hello, I'm Richie Ridge for Broadway Beat. We're on West 44th Street at the Schubert Theater, home of the John Weidman, Richard Maltby Jr. and David Shire musical Big, based on the hit 20th Century Fox film which starred Tom Hanks. This week we'll take you behind the scenes of this mega musical. You'll see auditions, the first major production reading, rehearsals, and of course the finished product on stage. Leading off the 30-member cast of Big is Daniel Jenkins, Krista Moore, Barbara Walsh, and John Cipher. Big is directed by Mike Ockrent, with choreography by Tony Award winner Susan Stroman.
The agenda for the day is, and I hope that we don't go to 7, but we may do, is to familiarize all the departments with the show right the way from top to bottom, so that it's seen. We're going to go through this scene by scene, in some cases beat by beat, so that you all understand what we're trying to achieve technically and artistically through the show.
We start with the children separate. The girls don't speak to the boys. They're dancing in a clump, Susan calls it. So I have the girls a color like their club. You know, like their club, they're color coordinated. The boys are in another. You have to be tricky with boys. Fortunately, these days, boys do wear more color, but basically boys wear less color. You don't want them to look like the Elliott Feld Ballet. It's a little tricky here with boys. Talk to her.
Right, I'll sound okay for a stammering girl like a geek.
Close your eyes. Move close. Swallow hard and speak.
I've been looking for a contemporary story to do for a long time. I have this nagging feeling that we somehow missed out on musicals about life today, contemporary stories, you know. After all, there's plenty of stories around us, and yet somehow or other we're all scared of making musicals about our own lives, which is interesting. In the 50s, people did make musicals about that particular period or set in their own time, and we've gone off that for about 30 years, and it's always intrigued me as to whether in fact one can do a musical that is set now and is not filled with pastiche songs or is fixed into a period that we only barely remember. So it's a very attractive story. And then particularly this story, I think, which is about growing up, about a kid, about a rite of passage, about growing up, seemed to lend itself to musicalization. And once we began to explore it, and the idea that the essence of being a child could be expressed in dance, then it all seemed to come together.
What are the biggest challenges been for you as the director?
The biggest challenge is always structure, is always working on structure with the writers and making sure that the structure holds up and hangs together. That's is always the biggest challenge in doing a new musical, you know. In particular, in this case, because it started life as a movie, the movie structure is a 3-act structure. The essence of modern drama now is 2 acts. So one of the biggest challenges I think that we're all faced with is actually finding a structure that became a 2-act structure, not a 3-act structure, and then finding out what is the essence of the story and developing that into production terms. And developing the whole idea of the kids dancing, of movement through dance that represents the story of these kids and the forces that are drawing Josh back to his home was challenging and thrilling, actually, because I think Susan's work is, as always, is incredible and has got to the essence of that. And that's what I think we're going to make this show completely unique and something that we've not seen before and touches all of us. You know, we've all gone through the 13-year-olds. We all remember it with either horror or we see our own kids growing up through that.
The moment you get off your butts, you'll go where no man's ever gone. You gotta make your move. All you gotta do is do it. You wanna score, get to it. You gotta make your move. Make it happen.
About 1989. My wife, Dee Dee Khan, turned to me one night and said, you know, you want to do a big musical? And I said, yes. And she said, you should do Big. I said, what do you mean? She had just seen it on video in a hotel room. And I said, that's a terrible idea. I don't know if I said that, but I thought, oh, it's too recent, we'll never get the rights. She said, you get the rights because Larry Mark, who's one of our producers, was the publicity director on the movie of Grease that Dee Dee played Frenchie in. She said, I'll make a phone call to Larry and I'll bet you we'll get the rights because he knew James Brooks and all those people. And that's what happened. She called up Larry and Larry said, what a great idea. And then I mentioned it to Jim, mentioned it to Richard. It's interesting, both Jim, Richard, and John Weidman were not that excited at first. We all had to warm to the project. And it's fascinating because it's the first show like this that Richard and I can remember doing where when people say, what are you doing? You say, well, we're doing a musical version of Big. They say, what a great idea. But nobody within reacted that way until we got into it because we all loved the movie. We loved that story, but we weren't sure what we could add to the movie. I mean, it's everybody's fifth or fourth favorite movie, it seems. So you have to be careful because just to do a knee-jerk version of the movie and stick songs in it, you can only lose. And our way into it was a ballad which you didn't hear today, but it's the song that Josh sings just before he sleeps with Susan, that wonderful moment in the movie where he just puts his hand on her breasts, and it's very touching. And they cut away, but of course we're doing a stage piece where we're going down into some of those emotions that the movie implied and had no reason to deal with on the level we are because it's a movie and it's brilliant on that level. But this story has allowed us to dig in. For instance, the mother in the movie does not get to really express something as deep as the thoughts in Stop Time, but in our show it was appropriate to deal with what Richard calls that parent's paradox, that at every age you do lose a child. You lose the 2-year-old, you lose the 4-year-old, you lose the teenager. You want your child to grow up and develop, but at the same time, there's always a sense of loss that you'll never see that cute little 2-year-old again.
We write very personal stuff. We always try to write out of our heart or our experience. And because I think that's the only way that you can write something that's genuinely fresh. Otherwise, you will write out of the vocabulary of other songs. You'll just rewrite thoughts that exist in other songs. We try to write something that's not from other songs. And the only source of that is usually yourself, emotions you have actually had, or that you know from someone else. Like there's a song that our character Susan sings at the beginning of the second act called All the Time in the World, Dancing All the Time. And we wanted to write about a woman remembering, a woman who had forgotten what it was like to be 13, remembering, and we couldn't quite figure out what it was that was special about it. And Spro said, well, I remember, I was just dancing all the time. I was running off to classes, I was a cheerleader, I was doing, and then it stopped. As soon as boys came in, in my teens, suddenly I was more careful. I was much, and that was like, lightning flash. We knew how to write that song because so many adults don't know where that child went,
You're joshing, disarmed me. That's how it began. And now I'm so happy with one special man.
It was very challenging because I had to invent a new form of choreography. It couldn't be contemporary and be dated by next year. I had to really take all the elements of today's dance and try to come up with my own style.
So what did you look at, actually, to combine this into your own? Can you give an example?
Sure, a lot of it. I have to say in the last year I've focused a lot on children. Just if I saw a kid, I was obsessed with watching him. Because their communication lies in their movement. You know, a lot of times they cannot articulate, so it really comes through their movement. So it was watching kids, seeing what activities they did, how they moved. Also watching modern dance, MTV, club dancing, just trying to take all the elements of what is very contemporary now, but not being trapped in one particular style, trying to use the elements of it and trying to invent something new.
Now, when you were auditioning these children, is there a lot of talent out there? Was it easy to find this cast?
No, it was quite difficult. 3 of the children are from Los Angeles, and 1 is from Michigan, and the rest are from New York, but it was quite hard. We had a big call in a junior high school, and 800 kids showed up. And to sing all 800 and dance all 800, it was a day I will never forget. It burns in my memory. But it was difficult because we're not only asking for them to sing and to dance like real full-out technical dancers, we're also asking them to act and be charming in different scenes and take on characters. So it was very difficult to find these particular kids. I feel like we got the best. So I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? Let's add that on. From the top. Back up a bit. Here we go. 5, 6, 7.
We had to take the story and really dissect it, figure out what we felt made it work, figure out why we wanted to tell it again, and then really reinvent it in musical theater terms. The obligations of a screenplay, the durations of screen scenes, the way people talk in a movie have nothing to do with the way people behave or talk or the way a story is organized for the musical theater. So in that sense, it's because it was a terrific story, that gave us a leg up, but we have reinvented it for our own purposes.
Because what I asked you, you spend a lot of time doing television, which is very close to film, the way a script is structured, so I thought it'd be easy for you to look at a screenplay and be able to turn that all around.
Well, I think in the sort of the first passes at it, the first draft or two, we were probably truer to the screenplay than we wanted to be, and ultimately we broke through. We broke free from that, and I think you'll see when you see the way the plot and the subplot works that again this is a musical theater piece, and we're telling it in musical theater terms.
Way back before all this began, things got tough. I ran. When you're small, you can't hide like Peter Pan. But when you're big, you have to be a man.
I will dance it, darling.
No, you already have.
I just want to do the David Letterman thing with this. Your time today is... Hi, David Letterman here. What time are you done?
Don't let your feet cross, Danny. Don't let your feet cross at all. It's better if they look like they just left the skateboard, and don't let them cross. And a bubble gun or something. Good one. Now go the other way.
This won't hurt a bit. I'm having such a great time doing what I'm doing. I can't say that it's been a big monkey on my back. I mean, and if it is a monkey on my back, it's like a great monkey. I mean, it's a great movie, and Tom Hanks was really great.
and you know, maybe I should watch it again so I can steal some more of his stuff. But it hasn't really been a weight. The material has done nothing but lift me. So I'm having too much fun to worry about it.
You can see that, finding the inner child.
Yeah, it's not a far way to dig for me.
Are you looking forward to going on the road?
Yeah, actually I am. It'll be great to kind of feel a little bit of removal from the New York scene and really focus on the technical aspects and all that stuff we'll be encountering in Detroit, and being in front of an audience that'll have no preconceived notions about it, you know, other than that they've seen the movie. But yeah, I am looking forward to that.
So I know you've been away for a little while, so it's good to have you back on stage again.
Oh, thanks.
We'll see you in April when you come to town down.
Okay.
Thanks.
Come in for the time of your life. We promise you the time of your life. 'Cause every day is the time of your life. When it's time to play.
Listen, fun could save my company. Why don't you come work for me?
Cool!
It's going to be a great success. I know it. New Yorkers and visitors who sat here in those seats for the opening night of Chorus Line that played in this theater. You're going to be able to say in the future that you were here for the opening of Big.
I wish I was big. Come on.
'Cause tonight's the night when we cross the line. 'Cause tonight is the night it's gonna happen. You can't wait on the side. There's a door open wide. And I tell you, tonight's the night.
The curtain has just come down on the spectacular opening night, and here we are at FAO Schwartz to join in the festivities. How do you feel on opening night? I mean, how do you deal with opening nights?
Well, I actually, to tell you the truth, I go to the local bar. I wouldn't dare go into the theater. I'm so nervous. I'm so worried about it being right that I just try to stay outside.
Because I was watching David Shire and Richard Maltby, and everybody came out and said Sardi's is closed at intermission. Everybody wanted to run over there and sort of escape for a minute.
Well, we all went to Barrymore. Barrymore's right around the corner, as you know, and it was close enough.
Because I always wondered if the creative team really enjoys themselves on opening night, or they wait to get through that.
Yes, I think it's more about waiting to get through. I mean, the real joy is in doing the work, putting it all together, and that's where the fun is. And, you know, then it's the nerves, because how's it going to be received? You know, everything depends on how the press likes it, and, of course, the audience we know loves it, so it's okay.
Tonight was a really up there with the best of them. A lot of it had to do with the audience and the path that this show has taken. It was difficult in Detroit, and the show was not as good, and the audiences were not as good, so it wasn't as exciting. And to be back in the Schubert, which is beautifully renovated and so much more intimate than the theater in Detroit, you know, we were really able to connect with the audience and have have that theater, that circle, you know, where...
Was there a lot of work done between Detroit and New York?
The entire first act is different. With the exception of one song, everything is new. You know, everything is a lot of new lines, mostly new songs.
Nobody warns you of this parent's paradox. You want your kid to change and grow, but when he does another child, you've just begun to know, leaves forever.
It was amazing. It was so overwhelming. I mean, before the show, nerves were going through me. Once I got out there, it was so much fun.
What was the show been like for you since the rehearsal process and then when you went to Detroit and now in New York? The show's changed a bit, hasn't it?
Definitely. They've actually added one song in the beginning of the show for me. So there was a lot of new stuff to learn, and it was exciting. Whenever you get new stuff, you always have more fun with it because there's more to do, you know?
The show was fun, but Detroit was, because we were in the hotel the whole time, so we got a little restless.
Have the audiences been different between Detroit and New York? Talk about the different audience reactions.
Well, the audiences altogether have been really, really good, but New York, they've been laughing at a lot more things that they didn't laugh at all in Detroit, but then there were some things in Detroit that, you know, got better, like, response than here. But the audiences are great, yeah.
Whack, 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 whack. Yow, huh, yow, move. Make your move. Come on, man, come on, let's move it. I'm moving. Move. Yeah, move it, prove it, huh.
The trick was to make real clothes, but real clothes that were in some way sort of heightened so that you could actually tell things from them. Because, you know, everyone today dresses in a homogeneous way. Like, you can't tell who is the CEO of a company and who is the messenger because they both wear running clothes. So my job is to try to determine through fabric and color who to look at, who's going to be telling who to do what. So that was my job. Does that make any sense?
Yes, it does. Because you're right. I mean,
in a way, it was surreal. It bounced between being really exciting and then we would feel sort of nervous and having out-of-body experience, and then you would go back into being excited. The audience was wonderful, and so that's something that just makes all of us feel so good.
It's the culmination of all those hopes, all those dreams, and it's one roll of the dice. And it really feels wonderful that to hear that the New York Times loved the show and the USA Today loved the show. It feels wonderful.
It should, but I mean, the audience has loved this show. But I know it doesn't always work out that way when the critics and the audience agree. And it has for your show.
The audience has always loved the show. But I've been to many previews where the audience loves the show and the critic doesn't love the show and it gets bombed and then the show closes, even though the audience loved the show. To know that the audience loved the show and Vincent Canby, I love you, baby. Vincent Canby loved the show. And I'm so thrilled because it is a wonderful, warm, heartfelt show.
What have you enjoyed the most? I know you've gone back into television and you've been working in that media for a little while. Now you're back.
25 years.
Yeah, but now you're back doing what you used to do, the live theater. What do you enjoy the most, and what have you enjoyed the most about the big process?
This is a question, of course, that everybody asks actors. And now that I'm back doing this, and this is the first time I've been on Broadway, not the first time I've been on stage, but the first time I've been on Broadway in 25 years, there is nothing, absolutely nothing that compares to it. It is an ecstasy for an actor to be in a Broadway show, in the Schubert Theater, no less, and to have it successful is the culmination of a tremendous dream and a prayer to God. I made a prayer to God that this would happen.
He tells me nothing, and I don't get mad. By God, you're like the sun I never had. Who's that? That's the son I had.
I hope you won't think I overdid it, but it's beluga.
Ah.
stage is a nut house on opening. It's a nut house. And with this, there were toys everywhere. With all these kids, it was like Christmas all over again. So piles of stuff and flowers and balloons, and it was amazing just to get through the work of doing the show and wade through all the crap. But it was a very special night.
And the real key to it and the message to it is that every moment of our life is important. We can never wish our life away. We must never wish our life away. It's the one thing that we've got. We have to wake up every morning and understand and appreciate how valuable this life is. Not only our own lives, but everybody's lives.
I am free. I'm in charge of the band. Till my mom comes to pick me up at 6.
Oh my goodness, speak to this gal.
What show are you going to see today?
We're seeing Big, the musical.
And why did you choose this ticket?
I chose it because I'm really interested in theater. I love going, and any show I can get my hands on, I'd love to see.
Big?
And why'd you select this show?
My children selected it, to be honest with you. I'm just coming along for the ride, paying the bills.
What have you heard about this?
I just am familiar with the movie with Tom Hanks.
Yeah, and you enjoyed the movie?
Yes.
Why'd you decide on Big?
We were hoping to see Tom Hanks.
You want to see Tom? I think you might be a little disappointed.
Oh, no.
You're standing online to see what show?
The Big.
Big. Why'd you buy that ticket today?
Because I've seen everything else in New York.
My voice is a little hoarse.
Oh, it sounds good. I like your voice.
Okay. What do you want to know?
Sounds like you had a few cigarettes before the show.
Not really. Well, maybe.
So what show are you going to see?
See Big.
And why'd you choose this show?
Well, I got an offering, and I like the movie, and I like musicals.
You like musical? What have you heard?
Good.
Good.
Jonathan Schwartz said it's good.
You want to share a moment with us?
Yeah.
What show are you going to see?
When?
Today. What do you mean when?
Big.
Was that a hard question?
No.
What do you want to be when you're big? That's a harder question. Teacher.
No, not a teacher.
What do you think about teachers?
They're boring. They're boring.
You want to grow up to be work on Broadway, don't you?
No, I want to be a hair cutter.
What about you? What do you want to be when you're big?
I don't know.
What do you want to be when you're big?
An architect.
An architect. You have this well thought out. What did you want to be when you were big last year?
I don't know.
Hello! Hello!
What show are you going to see?
I don't know. What are you going to see?
You don't know what? You're going to Big.
Right.
Do you like Big? What do you like about Big? Are you going to? I asked the questions.
I forgot.
What are you going to be like when you're big? Is Mommy big?
Real big. She's 100.
She is. She doesn't look a day over 75.